I want to talk about NFL Week 1 because, Buffalo just beat LA on Thursday Night Football, but there are 15 games left this weekend. I want to go through each game and predict a winner, and I'll keep track as the year goes on. There are 3 categories. You got a win, you got a loss, and you've got wimp. I consider a game a win if I got a prediction right. I consider a loss if I get a prediction wrong. And wimp is if I wimp out and won't commit to picking a winner for a game in the predictions part of the show. That will be one where I wimped out on. We won't count it. We'll at the end of the year go win, loss, wimp. How many did I wimp out on? How many did I get right? How many did I get wrong? I think it's a fun thing to keep track of as the year goes on. Now, game number 1, the New Orleans Saints against the Atlanta Falcons. I believe New Orleans is going to win this game. The Saints are a better football team. They've got 3 stud receivers, Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, a good defense, a good running game, a good offensive line, Alvin Kamara at running back. Now, a fun storyline here is that it's the 2015 number 1 overall pick, Jameis Winston, against the number 2 overall pick from that same year, Marcus Mariota. Both of them are on what I would call their final opportunity as a starting quarterback in the NFL, playing for different teams than the ones that drafted them. And I'm rooting for both of them to do well, but I believe that New Orleans will win this game on Sunday. 49ers Bears. The 49ers will win. This is a game with 2 young second-year quarterbacks, Justin Fields and Trey Lance. Trey Lance hasn't played as much and has more to prove, I think, than Justin Fields. But the 49ers are a much better team all around. Even if Trey Lance doesn't have a great game, I think that with more offensive weapons and, frankly, I really worry that the 49ers defensive line is going to annihilate Justin Fields. He's going to be running around for his life with a bad offensive line against the weakness of the Chicago Bears might be their offensive line. And maybe the biggest strength of the 49ers is their defensive line. It's a terrible mismatch. So I have the 49ers winning this game, but I'm genuinely excited to watch Trey Lance in his first ever start. At least, how do I put this? It's not his first ever start, but it's his first start in the era of him being the franchise quarterback, or so we're sold to believe, in San Francisco. He's got a lot to prove. Can he live up to the hype? And, if things go bad for Trey Lance, how quickly will it be before people start calling for Jimmy Garoppolo to get on the field and play? Hopefully that doesn't happen at all in this game, and I think it's actually kind of an easy win for the 49ers. Steelers at Bengals. Cincinnati's going to win this game. Cincinnati's a better team with more weapons. Also, no offense, but Mitchell Trubisky or Joe Burrow, right? I think Joe Burrow is going to win this game. I've got Cincinnati beating Pittsburgh week 1. Eagles at Lions. Fun game. Interesting matchup. Good storylines here. But I believe Philly wins this game. They've got more firepower. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Both the offensive and defensive line in Philly are really, really good. Detroit's going to compete really hard. I think you got 2 quarterbacks who are trying to prove themselves, Jalen Hurts and Jared Goff, and I'm rooting for both of them. But I believe Philly wins this game against Detroit week 1. Patriots at Dolphins. I've got Miami winning this game, actually. Bill Belichick likes to take away your favorite thing on offense. When he's playing against you, his defense says, we're going to find what you like best about your offense and take it away. And, okay, I want to see Bill Belichick try and stop Tyreek Hill. Now, maybe that's not their game plan. Maybe they're going to try to stop the running game. I don't know that that's that hard anyway against Miami. So if they try to stop Tyreek Hill, A, I'm not really sure you can, and B, even if you do stop Tyreek Hill or double team him or something, just creating better matchups and better opportunities for their other receiver, Jalen Waddle, who you have to worry about. So I personally haven't thought of the game plan yet that is going to stop Miami, actually. And so my opinion is if Miami executes at a high level, they're terrifying and really scary to play. The only people that can stop Miami are themselves with poor execution. However, I have no doubt that Bill Belichick has some kind of interesting plan on defense to slow down Miami. I'm excited to see what that is. I don't have enough vision to know what that could be. So I've got Miami winning this football game. But I'm really, really excited to see what happens between Miami and New England. How about the Ravens at the Jets? I've got the Jets winning this football game. The Ravens' former quarterback, Joe Flacco, is starting for New York. And the Jets also have some legit talent on their football team. I think the Jets are a much better team than they were in recent years. But I believe Joe Flacco is going to play well and the Jets are going to win. And Joe Flacco is going to show, hey, remember when you replaced me with Lamar Jackson? I didn't forget that. I've had a weird career ever since then, but I can still play football at a high level. And I haven't forgotten that time that I won you a Super Bowl and then you very quickly afterward got rid of me and replaced me with Lamar Jackson. I think the emotional baggage that comes along with this game is going to help the Jets win. I have the Jets beating the Ravens week 1. Jaguars at Commanders. This is what I talked about. I'm wimping out. I'm not picking a winner here. I have no idea what's going to happen. No idea who's going to win. You've got two quarterbacks trying to prove themselves and trying to show that they're franchise quarterbacks. Carson Wentz is on a new team. Trevor Lawrence is in his second year with Jacksonville, but he had a bad year last year, 12 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. By the way, Carson's playing against his former head coach, Doug Peterson. It's really interesting. These two teams have changed a lot since last year. They've got a better receiving core in Washington. They've got a new quarterback in Washington. I'm really not sure what to expect week 1 from the Jaguars and Commanders, but the Commanders didn't even have a team name last year. So, it's a totally different football team, in my opinion. I have no idea what to expect. We're going to learn a lot about these two teams in this game. I'm watching it for sure. I can't wait to see what happens. And again, it's two quarterbacks, Carson Wentz and Trevor Lawrence, trying to both show the world that they are franchise quarterbacks worth investing in. And I'm excited to see what happens. How about Browns at Panthers? I've got the Carolina Panthers winning this football game. It's the Baker Mayfield revenge game. Baker's playing his former team after they replaced him with Deshaun Watson. On paper, Cleveland's a better football team. I actually would think that they've got more weapons and a better defensive line. And Jacoby Brissett's not bad. We'll see. I'm not opposed to the thought that Jacoby Brissett might be really good and the Browns win this football game. But to me, the emotion for Baker is going to override things, and I believe the Carolina Panthers are going to win this football game at home against Cleveland. Colts at Houston. Indy's going to win this game. The Colts have a much better football team than Houston. Houston is rebuilding, in my opinion. They've got really big concerns on defense. They've got really only one receiving weapon, Brandon Cooks. It's also game number 1 for Matt Ryan. He's going to come out pumped to show what he can do. I'm excited to watch him. I've got the Colts winning over Houston this weekend, but I'm excited to watch Davis Mills, and I've got nothing bad to say about Houston. It's just that I think the Colts are a much better football team. Giants at Tennessee. I've got the Titans winning this football game. Tennessee was a playoff team last year. They're in a much better position as a franchise than the Giants. The Giants are far from a playoff team. They're, I think, the worst team in their division. It's also what's really interesting about this game to me. Once again, I believe Tennessee is going to win this football game. But it's game number 1 for Daniel Jones. Here's what that means. I'm giving Daniel Jones 6 games with Brian Daboll as his head coach running that offense before I cast judgment. 6 games in, after the Ravens game, week 6, I'm going to go, how has it gone? Yes, no, maybe, and maybe means no. How good is Daniel Jones? We're going to see how he does this game against Tennessee. I'm really curious. I'm very skeptical about Daniel Jones. And I think the Giants start 0-1. Packers at Vikings. I've got Green Bay winning. Shocker. Minnesota has a new coach. Green Bay has Aaron Rodgers. And the question is Kirk Cousins going to be different this year? I guess we'll see. This is their year. It's set up for them to win, but I've got the Packers winning this game and Kirk Cousins being, productive, but not good enough to win the game. KC at Arizona. I believe Kansas City wins this football game. And look, I think both teams are good. They're both probably playoff teams. There's a lot of talent on both sides of the field. To me, this game comes down to Patrick Mahomes. I think he's better. I think he makes plays in the fourth quarter that put Kansas City on top. But remember, this year was all about Kyler Murray trying to show that he's worth the massive $230 million contract he got. Kyler winning would be a big deal. It would be a big statement. And I think the task for Kyler Murray this fall is to show the world that he's formidable, that he's a player you should be afraid of your team playing against. And if he wants to start changing the narrative about him, that he's not just some whiny, overpaid quarterback, he's got to win a game like this. I don't think he will. I believe Kansas City wins his football game, but I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a great matchup and good quarterback play and a fun time. But I've got KC beating Arizona on Sunday. Raiders at Chargers. I'm picking LA to win. I had to pick somebody. I think it's going to be a fun game. The reason why I'm picking LA is because the Raiders have a new head coach. I think it's going to be close and fun, but LA is slightly better. They've got an established system. They've got an established head coach. There's no first game learning you got to do with LA. So I think LA wins, but I think it's going to be close and fun. And it's the first of our many, many great AFC West divisional games this year in the NFL. How about Tampa at Dallas? I'm picking Tampa to beat Dallas. I worry about Tom Brady's offensive line. But you could say the same thing about Dallas. I think both teams have a good, imposing defensive line with some question marks on the offensive line. Which quarterback, Tom Brady or Dak Prescott, can handle the weaknesses on the offensive line better? I'm not really sure. Tampa, to me, has more playmakers. They're a better football team. I believe Tampa's defense is really going to make the difference in this football game. So I've got Tampa beating Dallas, but it's going to be fun. It's Sunday Night Football. It's going to be interesting. A lot of eyeballs are going to be on this game, and I'm excited to watch it. Monday Night Football, the final game of the weekend. Broncos at Seahawks. I've got Denver winning by a mile. They're not in the Mile High City. They're in Seattle, but they're going to win by a mile. Russell Wilson is playing against his former team. That's awesome. Can't wait for that. He's going to remind the world how good he is. For some reason, he's underappreciated. Like, people don't realize how truly incredible Russell Wilson is. And in a new offense with a new team and a fresh start, I think it's going to be a prime opportunity against kind of a bad team, by the way, Seattle, to show what he can do. Seattle didn't support him well enough, in my opinion. One interesting wrinkle in this game is that it's going to be loud as all get out. They're in Seattle. They're on the road. Seattle is notoriously loud in their stadium, but and Russ has never had to play in that environment on the road. He's always had the advantage of playing at home in that environment. So that'll be a fun, interesting thought here. But I've got Denver winning by a lot over Seattle. And another prediction I'll make is that I think Geno Smith, the Seahawks quarterback, is going to be totally underwhelming. And you're going to be like, oh, man, we're really going to have 17 games of watching Seattle just flounder and be completely boring and generic at quarterback all year long. And it's going to be kind of a wasted year for Seattle. So again, my week one predictions, I've got New Orleans beating Atlanta. I've got the 49ers beating Chicago. I've got the Bengals beating Pittsburgh, Philly beating Detroit, Miami beating New England, the Jets and Joe Flacco beating Baltimore. I'm wimping out on the Jaguars Commanders. I have no idea who's going to win that football game. Carolina's going to beat Cleveland. The Colts over Houston. Tennessee will beat the Giants. The Green Bay Packers, things are not going to change. The Packers are still going to dominate and beat the Vikings. I've got Kansas City beating Arizona. LA, the Chargers will beat the Raiders. Tampa will beat Dallas. And Denver will beat Seattle. Those are my picks. They're locked in. We will check back next week to see how I did.